Breaking it down with a mix and a blend. This is Mid-Table Crisis with me, Thomas Patrick.
And me, Simon Cross. So, Tom, what's caught your eye this week?
Well, apart from my insane rapping skills, I'd say a young old Lazio player has caught my eye. There's been some interesting developments at Cardiff City. There's been some sad news from Denmark. I hauled myself off to Nottingham to watch Coventry, which I'll be discussing a little bit later.
Why'd you do it to yourself, Tom? Why?
I don't know.
It's a labour of love, isn't it?
It's like being in labour.
The party or the... never mind, let's not go down this road.
No.
Anyway, and we'll also be taking a look at Liverpool's title prospects, as well as the heartwarming story of a Malaysian fan who travelled halfway across the world only to have his heart broken, and then lovingly mended by the people at Everton Football Club.
That's a story. It's a Christmas story in February. It's beautiful. But yeah, we start with the strange tale of Joseph Minala, who, I mean, most people would know about this by now, most football literate fans.
Yeah, we're a little late to the saga in this regard. I mean, the story had broken last week, but we were just so jam-packed we didn't have the space to cover it. But now he's got our full attention.
Yeah, it's got back in the news a little bit more because basically some websites have been claiming that this 17-year-old Lazio youth player is actually 41. And if anyone's seen the picture of him, I can see what they mean. Apparently,
putting this picture up on the page, obviously, when this goes out, so you'll get to judge for yourselves.
Yeah, apparently the alleged statements posted on the website senego.net says that Minala confessed that his real age was different to what's stated in his documents.
Which isn't entirely uncommon. I mean, rumours abounded of Nigeria's 1996 gold medal winning team, about how many of those players were under 23.
Well, I think we all know Kanu was fibbing a little bit. I did hear some interesting statistics about the new stringent age tests that are coming in for the under 21 World Cup. Nigeria withdrew double figures of their players. I'm not sure exactly how many, but it was at least 10 due to unknown reasons. So
their ages.
Yeah, Africa does have form, but it may simply be that this man just has had a very hard life, and
all that hard life has happened directly to his face, because he's got an athletic frame. He does look like a young man until you get to his head.
Yeah,
he's
quite well built for a 17-year-old as well, if he is, because I mean he's quite muscly and strong.
Yeah, he definitely looks like an athlete. I mean, we're not having a go. He doesn't look like the average 41-year-old man who's got a bit of a beer belly, hair thinning due to worry about the kids and the mortgage. He looks, if he is 41, he looks good for 41. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but surely in 10 years' time, if he's on the knackers yard, then he's living on borrowed time, I'd say. Because I would say he's probably not 17. I don't think he's 41 either. I think he's somewhere in the middle. If I was to hazard a guess, I'd say he's probably mid-20s, maybe 28 at the most. Because looking at his body type and his face, and I'm not going to say there's no smoke without fire, but honestly, I could not believe that man is 17. What are your thoughts on this, Simon?
Well, his body doesn't look like it's fully grown, so his body looks 17, but his face doesn't. So
He's got some pecs on him.
Yeah, I want to go for a slightly underdeveloped 21-year-old, or I don't think he's any older than that. I think he's just a boy. You see people who are either through their receding hairlines at the age of 22, or for the greying of their hair. I'm talking about hair mainly, But there are people that look older than their years, even in our age range. So it's entirely possible that he could be 17, but it just doesn't look likely. If he is lying, and he is, let's take your estimation at 28.
Yeah.
So he's 28 when he's 17. If you follow me, does that mean, because Italian players players based in Italy go until they're 30, 35 anyway. So you add another few years onto that, he could very well be eligible for some senior citizens promotions by the time he retires.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up running out of steam in a few years, because there's people, he'd have to be born in something like 1996, and I think, look, come 2016, I think we'll all know for certain, because if he's playing like a 19-year-old, then fair enough. But if he's playing like someone who is about 30, then, I mean, it was a similar thing with Jeremy. I think he was a little bit older than he claimed to be, and he was Cameroonian. So, I think there's been a little bit of age sneakage there.
Of course, we must point out that none of the players we've named have been caught or even admit to age manipulation. We're just floating the idea that it could be the case.
Yeah, and it does happen, because I do remember reading about a player from the Democratic Republic of Congo who had 4 birthdays. He was he was either 24 or 18 or somewhere in between. So it definitely does happen.
He's playing well for the Lazio youth team. I mean, they're currently national champions, and he chipped in with 5 goals and 6 assists, which, I mean, the sad part is we don't even know what position he actually plays.
He's a midfielder.
I mean, that's a very general term, though. It could be a holding midfielder. Well, I doubt it with like 6 assists, but a man who could very well just be 17 has got a lot of attention on him for aspects that are somewhat out of control, wild rumour and speculation. It's like Castor Semenya in the world of athletics.
Yeah.
I mean, that poor girl had to go for a whole trial by media, and all she wanted to do was run.
Yeah, if you look a little bit different, people are going to ask questions, unfortunately. But also things have got to be fair as well. You can't have someone who maybe is at the peak of their game. Maybe they're 28 years old and they're never going to get any better than that. And maybe he's going to land a nice, 5-6 year contract on a lot of money a year on the basis of them being 17 when they're actually not. So.
Oh no, yeah, we don't know if this is fraud or not, and I hope it isn't, and I hope he turns out to be one of those exciting prospects.
Yeah.
Because I do love a good African footballer. There's something about the African footballers and their passion for the ball. They just seem there's a certain hunger to their game. You just see in African players more than say like some European, not all, but some European players.
You're just really declaring a love for JJ Okocha here, really, aren't you?
That man has never left my heart. You know it.
He was one hell of a player. To be honest, I don't care if I sound rude. You were lucky to have him, because a player of that quality at Bolton,
Mind you, Nicholas Anelka was still in fine quality when we had him, so it's not exactly an isolated case.
No, I mean, you had Djorkaeff. Well, Djorkaeff, Vieira and Campo were all getting on a little bit.
They were just past their prime.
Yeah.
Like a cheese with a little bit of mould on.
I'm sure Vieira welcomes that description.
Yeah.
I understand, because he was a top quality player.
Oh,
I think you might have got him on a free as well. Yeah. Good player. Yeah. Good stuff.
Well, Big Sam's got his contact book.
Yeah, he has.
That's true. And it's coming through a little bit at West Ham as well, with some of the names they've got. I mean, some of the names, obviously, from Bolton: Jerry O'Brien, Matt Taylor, the big one, Kevin Nolan.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Follow me around somewhat. We've somewhat digressed from Cameroonian midfielders to Bolton. But long-time listeners of our podcast will know that's the kind of thing we do. So,
yes.
So we shall press onwards to a heartwarming story that kind of broke last night. Really, took place last night.
Yeah.
As our fans will know, there were two postponements last night: the Man City versus Sunderland game and the Everton versus Crystal Palace game were called off due to high winds.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame really because, two big games. Those games could have a big factoring in where the top four finish at the end of the season.
Well, big games from the other side too. Two sides battling to avoid relegation. So all the teams had a big stake.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think it'd be a good idea if they get that played as quickly as possible.
I mean, we don't as yet know when the rearranged fixtures will take place, but we hope it doesn't clutter up an already quite congested calendar.
Yeah.
In the footballing in this month, particularly with the re-emergence of European competitions as well.
I was going to say it's the last thing Man City need with their schedule, but I'm sure they'll be all right. They've got a pretty good squad, all in all. I think we'll agree.
They've got the squad depth to get through that one. Some of the fans who had travelled to Goodison to watch Everton versus Crystal Palace, especially the Crystal Palace fans, would have felt a quite a strong sense of annoyance to find out that the game was postponed at 7:15 with a kick-off time at 7:45. But one fan who particularly felt the sting of a late cancellation was young Rick Wee from Malaysia, an Everton fan for 30 years now. He finally got his chance. He bought his tickets and he was going to see his first ever game at Goodison Park last night until got postponed.
Because of heavy wind. Of all the things in the world, I can't remember the last time a game was called off because of wind.
You don't really hear of it, do you? I mean, snow, tube strikes, they're the general ones. Riots, of course. We had an England game cancelled because of the Tottenham riot.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty much the standard reasons in this country. But bless Everton, because what they did is they found out about this story through the Twitter feed, and they got in contact with him through Twitter, and he got to meet Roberto Martinez and Leighton Baines. So he got a great experience out of it, to say the least, even if he didn't get to see any football.
Swings and roundabouts is the phrase that I would use, but I use that quite often. Yeah, it must have been a great thrill for him because not many people know that apart from Liverpool and Man United, there are a lot of Premiership teams that do have a big following in Asia. You know, Singapore, Malaysia, China. These are huge markets for English teams.
I can break out my useless fact that roughly 1 in 3 South Koreans claims to support Man United.
Yeah, and there's quite a few Arsenal fans mixed in there as well, and even going down a little bit lower in the league, there are fans out there. So they do watch every game that they can online and on TV. So we've got to remember that Premier League is watched globally. So
most watched league in the world, of course.
Yeah. So we've got to be thankful for that.
There are some countries where their domestic league games get postponed due to the fact that there are Premier League games being played when they would normally play.
Yeah. Crazy.
So it just shows the reach that we've got and the league that we're blessed with.
Yeah.
And it's nice when a football club does something like this because Everton are quite often known as the People's Club.
A family club.
A family club. And
yeah.
Then it's little gestures like this that warm your heart. And in the previous weeks, we've had to discuss the possibility of a somewhat dodgy owner at Leeds, Vincent Tan's crazy antics, which I know we'll cover a little more later.
Yeah.
And general football skullduggery. And it's nice to see something as heartwarming as this come through.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely very good for the game. Gives a good example to everyone else as well, and it made that guy's trip. I'm sure that was better than actually seeing the game, to be honest. Getting to meet.
Crystal Palace aren't playing that boring football. They're playing quite an exciting brand.
Yeah. But Leighton Baines is well on his way to being an Everton legend, and Martinez is forging himself a great reputation there. So I hope it inspires other clubs to do similar things.
Certainly. If there's one thing football could always do with more of, it's good PR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's definitely helping.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's sort of taken us aback a little bit that we're talking about something nice for a change on
Yeah.
Table Crisis.
Don't worry, we'll get back to the bad stuff with the news that Cardiff have basically they've blamed their ex-manager for their losses in the transfer market, which would be fair enough, but then their ex-manager signed a player. He wasn't responsible for the sale. Andreas Cornelius is the man in question, the big Danish striker.
I know they're quite close to each other, Tom, but your geography should be better than that.
I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. Basically, he's been re-signed by FC Copenhagen, but his time at Cardiff was very stop-start. He had a nasty ankle injury. We've not really seen the best of him, and he's only 20 years old. He could still be a major player, and I certainly hope actually Cardiff come to rue the day that they're letting go.
Well, I don't think Vincent Tan ever wanted him there. I don't think Vincent Tan liked the idea of signing players from the Danish league. I mean, I could be wrong, but I imagine Vincent Tan's knowledge of Superliga isn't that extensive.
I doubt it.
It's not like FM enthusiasts who know it's a great way of mining cheap players due to the wage structure.
And the Danes, there's a lot of good young Danes out there. There really are. They don't always get snapped up, but some of the best players of the 90s came from Denmark, and some very good players since then as well.
Yes, of course, we spoke, of course, of Mikael Laudrup last week, who was a very good Dane, to say the least.
The Great Dane, perhaps one of the greatest players of the 90s. One of the best players, one of the best European players from the 90s, certainly. Played at all the big clubs, Barcelona, Real Madrid. He wasn't at Chelsea, that was his brother. But he did a tour of the big guys, Ajax, back in the day when Ajax were a very, very strong team. People might forget that Denmark were once one of the world powers, because these days they tend to have good players rather than a good team. I think. Yeah, they need a little bit more depth maybe, but they still can produce some quality players. If Agger didn't have the injuries that he's been plagued with, I genuinely think he'd be one of the world's top defenders.
Certainly, and they've got players like Christian Eriksen. So I forgot his name briefly. That was a bit foolish of me, but they've got Christian Eriksen. They've got a young prospect at Ajax called Victor Fischer, who seems to be tearing up a few trees in the Dutch league.
Yes, I've heard of him. He's going to be a great player, I think. So, I mean, it just goes to show that they're still producing good players 20 years after their heyday.
We speak, of course, of their heyday because we here at Mid-Table Crisis have today learnt the sad news that the mastermind that guided Denmark to their 1992 European Championship triumph has sadly died.
Yeah, Richard Mullen Nielsen died at the age of 76. He had been ill for a while.
Yeah,
he had an operation on a brain tumour last year. It's a sad day when anyone dies, but especially when he was the man who led Denmark to their only ever major honour. He had a good team, but a lot of people don't know this. They were only in the competition because Yugoslavia were forced to pull out because of the civil war that was raging at the time.
I believe they were UEFA didn't want them there as a result.
Yeah, I say they were forced to pull out. I think they were basically told to leave, and if they'd kicked up too much with us, they would have been banned for longer. So I think in the end they withdrew because they had their own problems. But considering they hadn't even qualified in a conventional way, to go all the way to the end and finish it.
Well, many of their players were on holiday when they got the call because obviously they hadn't qualified. And suddenly they get phone calls saying, okay, pack your bags, we're going to play in the European Championships.
And we're going to win it.
Not everyone answered that call, though. Of course, we spoke about Mikael Laudrup, but he turned down the opportunity to play in the 1992 Championships. He stayed on holiday.
A slightly prickly relationship with certain managers that might have had something to do with it. even so, that team sheet, to Schmeichel in goal, Brian Laudrup, I, I would think I'd be right in saying that they still had Elkiar. I'm not 100%, but he was a stalwart in the 80s. I think he still might have been knocking around then. So they had a good squad, but they weren't favourites by any means. There were some powerful sides I know they came up against the Germans, who in 1992 were a formidable side. Rudi Voller, Lothar Matthäus, Bodo Illinger.
Well, the Germans
Very,
were
very good squad.
shot winning the World Cup 2 years previously. So, a certain force.
A huge victory that was.
And without their best player. Basically, Laudrup was their attacking force. He was their talisman.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, his little brother Brian picked up the mantle and showed him how it's done.
You've got a fair few Brian Laudrup references in.
He was just a top quality player. I mean, he was as good at doing what he did as Michael was at doing what he did. I can't remember exactly who it was at Barcelona. It was, it may have been Romario. But somebody said of Michael Laudrup, just run, he'll find a way to pass you the ball. Which I think says a lot about him. He was a top quality playmaker, great pass to the ball, great vision, good dribbler. He had a little bit of everything.
And people will be wondering, I guess, what does the Denmark story tell us about the modern day? Well, in regards of being able to win tournaments without your best player, my mind is immediately cast to London 2012 and Mexico taking the Olympic gold, despite the fact they didn't have Javier Hernandez in their lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a few memes were made about the fact that Ferguson didn't let him go, and there's just pictures of Hernandez looking all sad and grumpy as they win as Mexico wins gold. It just goes to show that losing your best player isn't the end of the world, tournament-wise. And it shows, much like Greece did in Euro 2004, that any team can win a tournament.
I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard of a theory, it's called the Ewing effect, after the famous basketball player. And inexplicably, when a team loses its best player, sometimes they go on a great winning streak. They rally round, they fight for every minute of the game, and they put a good winning run together. It happened with, I think it was the Knicks when Patrick Ewing was out injured for a while. Sometimes players get a siege mentality, and it really does wonders for morale, which is so important.
It galvanizes a squad.
I'm sure Nielsen would have used that. He would have said, people don't think we deserve to be here. Go out and show them what Denmark can really do.
Some people would have thought that there's a valid claim to them not deserving to be there, but we're not going to open up that issue. We're here to celebrate the achievement.
Yeah, and I think we'll leave the final words to Peter Schmeichel, who described Nielsen as an inspiration, my teacher, and my friend.
So, yeah,
I think that says it all.
It's a lovely, moving tribute, and I've just realised that last week's Book of the Month, that we mentioned last week, rather, the numbers game also supports your Ewing theory at some point. It does have a section on what happens when you lose your best player, to an extent. It does cover this in statistical form, so another one for you, Stathos. I feel I sort of trampled over your moving Schmeichel quote, so we here at Mid-Table Crisis would like to pay our respects to a great man and an innovative tactician.
Yes, Richard Moller Nielsen, who died today. And I'm sure throughout Denmark, everyone will be remembering him fondly. And I know Peter Schmeichel certainly will. But we must move on.
As life does move on, and so must we.
Yes. To other current events. And
you took a little trip to one of your former places of residence last weekend, Tom.
Yes. I spent quite a few years up in Nottingham. Had a lovely time up there. And when I realised that Notts County would be playing at home against my beloved Coventry, I made sure to get myself on that train. I've never seen so many people drinking before 12 o'clock, but it was a Cobb away day. Terribly windswept stadium at Meadow Lane. The rain was coming down. It was horrible. Enoch Shimumley doesn't take his hands out of his pockets, and he wears a coat when he warms up. That's just a little factoid for all you fact fans. Yeah, to be honest...
We don't give you the latest scoops here at Mid-Table Crisis.
Yeah, although he did have a heartwarming show of solidarity later, which I will mention. But yeah, I mean, Coventry have been playing quite well recently, but we were very poor. We lost 3-0. 2 goals in the first half. Hayden Mullins' header, which, he wasn't... He's a good player for that league. As much as I dislike him, which I do, he's a good player for that league. And we should have had someone on.
Hayden Mullins? Where's this come from?
What?
Where's this Hayden Mullins come from?
I've never been a fan, and I remember when Coventry in the Championship, and we played Portsmouth in the FA Cup. He just wasn't very nice. Just not a particularly nice man. And that was a bad start because it was only about 10 minutes in. And the whole game we were being tormented by Jack Grealish down the left, the little Aston Villa winger who's on loan, and Jamal Campbell-Rice. One's tricky, one's quickie, and they could both knock in a decent cross.
I know for a fact that Jack Grealish has got a fair amount of pace on him.
He's not slow, but he didn't really use it too much. He was more interested because Christie, our fullback, is fairly quick himself. He knew he couldn't really do him for pace, so what he tried to trick him, trick him out of it and then sprint past him. But to be fair, Christie did quite well. I don't really have too much of a... I know it was Clark. It was Clark, wasn't it? Oh, boss.
You've got to let the Clark thing go, Tom.
Yeah. It was Jordan Clark, not Liam Clark.
Oh.
Yeah, Christie's one of the other fullbacks. I get mixed up. But yeah, Grealish, he's quick enough, but Jordan Clark, our fullback's also pretty quick as well, so he was trying to trick him rather than outpace him, because it would have been a pretty even fight, I think. And I think Clark was getting a bit frustrated because Grealish certainly came in for a few kickings, including one in the face, which was thankfully missed by the referee. I mean, I'm not sure how much he meant it. I think it was Webster or Danny Seaborn, one of the centre-backs, on his way down, flicked a heel out and got him in the gob. I don't know if that's 100% intentional.
So after the torment of the wingers, you went on to concede another 2 then?
Yeah, we conceded another one before half-time, and it looked bleak. And, we would have done well to come back from that, to be honest. We did look a little bit tired from the midweek game against Bristol. We didn't really threaten much. I don't think we had a shot on target. We probably had 3 shots the whole game. We were struggling to create anything. We were knocking long balls through for Delfonso and Musa to run onto, but I didn't see a good through ball game. Sometimes we were knocking it up in the air, but there were too lightweights. You can't. We needed a player like Liam Clark, someone that can knock people around a little bit, more of a target man, which we were missing that so much because there was no link up. And when we did put crosses in, no one was getting anywhere near him. I think the closest we came to scoring was Jordan Clark's slightly wayward cross. So
it's a bad day at the office all round then.
Yeah, and then we gave away a penalty. I think it was Blair Adams, the fullback, in the last 10 minutes or so. Just bundled over, I think it was Campbell-Rice, and I think it was the centre-back. His name escapes me, but he scored the penalty for Notts County. And, I think that was maybe not fair enough, because Notts County were nothing special themselves, to be honest, but it was a wake-up call for Coventry, certainly. But it was nice to see, on 35 minutes, we had the Y protest.
A protest, of course, seen by most people in your recent game against Arsenal.
Yeah, yeah. And it was good to see us receiving applause from the Notts County fans who've been given a bit of banter back and forth, especially at my end because I was right at the end where it was flying back and forth. But it was nice to see a round of applause from them. And then big Enoch Shawomney, who warms up in his with his hands in his pockets. He did pick up the Y and displayed it to us, so we gave him a little cheer. And there was also a big cheer for Hayden Hollins as well, who looks slightly like Rio Ferdinand in the dark, maybe. But a Cov fan decided he was Rio Ferdinand, so he chanted Rio, Rio, Rio whenever he got the ball. That was probably the best part of the game, half time, watching the subs warm up. Someone threw a balled up Y paper at him, and he tried to backheel it, and he missed it, and so he got a nice chant of "That's why you're substitute." Yeah, it's nice to have a bit of banter with the fans and the players. Remind everyone that we're all human at the end of the day.
So it's the little things like this that make going to a football match all the worthwhile.
Yeah, because there wasn't much worthwhile about it because it was freezing and blowing a gale. But I did mention earlier that Cardiff do need a big striker, someone who can put themselves about a little bit. And I'm very happy at the news then that Chris Boyd is on Stephen Presley's radar. And Elvis is a big fan of the Scots, being one, and he's got a lovely contact book as well. So if we can get the big Killy man in, then I'll be very happy. You know, he's 30 now, so he can still do us a job.
That'd be another signing for you. No, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean.
Well, no, it'd be a good signing for any League One club, I'd say. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens there. And it's just good to see that Stephen Presley's got his mind on the future as well.
Oh, you've got a young side, haven't you? So it's definitely a long-term project over at Coventry.
Well, yeah, we've got to get ourselves back on an even keel first. We've got to be, getting a bit of money coming in.
So, having seen them in the flesh, do you rate their chances at the playoffs, or do you think that's too much too soon?
Who? Notts County? No, mate, they'll go down. I mean, Cov. To be honest, we've got a chance, certainly, but we need squad depth, and we do, as you say, we need experience, and you can't really buy experience, especially not when January's gone. So, when I say you can't buy experience, I mean that, you can buy an experienced player, but, our young team need to, have a few seasons of the league just to get themselves used to what the running's going to be like. Because it may come down to it, it may come down to the last few games. And I don't think at the moment we've got that mental strength and the winning mentality that, seasoned veterans may have. I also think that, the top three positions are pretty much spoken for. So I'd say there's only going to be three that are really up for grabs, in my opinion.
So
when it's going to come to the end of the season. So it's going to be very tough for any team.
Well, best of luck to you.
I think we'll finish top 8. But yeah, go on.
I was going to say best of luck to you. And a team, certainly with greater ambitions for a place in the top 4 is Liverpool. And that's the target that Brendan Rodgers has set for them this season. But a lot of people are asking more of them now. I mean, they did labour to a win against Fulham, of course, last night. But
I was devastated. I'm not a massive fan of Liverpool these days. I don't like the way they do things. For Fulham to have tried so hard and then get sucker punched by a 90th minute penalty, heartbreaking, especially for a team who may well go down this season.
Well, a team that's probably going to go down. I mean, I know I've made that £10 bet on Sunderland, and I've sounded sure in the past about Sunderland, but I think a lot of people agree with me that Fulham do look too defensively leaky to stay up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But defensive leaks, biggest defensive leak of the night didn't come from Fulham, it came from Liverpool, and Kolo Touré making yet another mistake. I mean, this one it's a comedy of errors, to say the least. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but he sort of, from within his own 6-yard box, sort of loops the ball over his own head into the goal and wrong foots Mingale completely. It's he's gone for a clearance and he's managed to like sort of overhead kick it into his own net. It's bizarre, and it's beautiful in a strange way.
Yeah.
If he meant it, it's amazing and slightly dodgy, but he clearly didn't, and it's just one of those things. I mean, it's what's going on with Kola? He's made 2 mistakes in 2 weeks. I mean, it's a seasoned professional.
He is. I'd say he's past his best. I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves at the end of this season, because I don't think he's top half of the Premiership. He's not that good anymore. I don't think he's been that good for maybe a year or two. So I think I like him. I don't think he's an awful player, but I would not, be particularly happy to see him lining up in my defence if I was a Liverpool fan.
I think he's a short-term fix to a problem that Liverpool seem as yet unwilling to address, and that's their defensive depth. I mean, a lot of people obviously after like Chelsea and Man City dropping points and Arsenal labouring to draws at the moment are saying, can Liverpool steal a march and take the title? I mean, they're currently in fourth. They're just 4 points off the top. And a lot's being made of the fact that a lot of their big title rivals have to go to Anfield still. But their first choice backline is pretty good. It's very good. But beyond that, I can't imagine that their second string being able to keep out some of the free-flowing football coming out of Chelsea and Man City at the moment. So, and if Arsenal catch their breath, they too could dismantle them in the FA Cup soon.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't think...
I've noticed I've sort of strayed into the FA Cup territory there, listeners, but it's of course one of Liverpool's upcoming big games, so we'll get to see if they can repeat their 5-1 drubbing soon enough. Was it a one-off, or was it a sign of things to come? We will soon know as of this weekend.
Yeah. I think it's going to be an interesting weekend for the title race, certainly.
It's brilliant. It's rare that the FA Cup gives us it's a free look, essentially, isn't it? I mean, Chelsea. I mean, both teams have already played each other twice, but we get to see how they handle a big game against a title rival. Yeah. So, I mean, I know it's a cup game; it's got a different feel, a different mentality, but it's nice that these two fixtures have been thrown up. One, for entertainment purposes, and two, it takes two of the big guns out, and it means we may yet see a name we wouldn't normally predict on the trophy at the end of the season, which would be a great boost to the competition, I think. Yeah. But we strayed slightly off topic, and I bring you back with some cold hard facts. Liverpool's next 5 Premier League fixtures. I'm gonna lay them out, and then see what we think, where we think Liverpool will be after them. Okay. They've got Swansea at home, then they go to Southampton, then they play at home again to Sunderland, then they go to Old Trafford and have a massive game. No matter where Man United are on the table, that's always a massive game. And then they go away to Cardiff. By no means the hardest of next 5 fixtures, is it? To be honest, I don't care who Liverpool had left. I just don't think they've got enough puff in them quite yet. I think they're too defensively frail. I think it's because they are up front. They haven't got the balance quite right. Maybe next year they might end up second. I'd say that's the best they can do, in my opinion. It did strike me as odd that they went after Kopianka. I mean, listeners of our previous podcast will know I've laboured over that pronunciation enough. So it did confuse me that they went after that Ukrainian winger. Yeah. Rather than another defender, which I think need more. They could do with a defender more than they could do with another winger. I mean, they went after Mohamed Salah, and I didn't see where he was going to fit into the team. I think they're still going to try and get him in the summer. Which as a neutral I'm excited about, because I want to see him in the Premier League, but I just don't think he's a Liverpool kind of player, but is he the player that Liverpool need right now? If that makes sense. I think they probably need 3, maybe 4. So, I'd say he's one of them. Not the most desperate they need, though, certainly. No, not by any means. So we're not backing them for the title, then. I personally think that Man City and Chelsea, and I'm still not counting Arsenal just yet, but that might be my heart over my head there.
Yeah,
I've got slightly more than Liverpool over 38 over the remaining games.
I'd agree with that.
So, there you are, Liverpool fans. I'm sorry if we've kind of put the kibosh on your good feeling right now, but that's just our humble opinion. We of course may be wrong.
Yeah,
I've been known to be wrong before.
go ahead. Why don't you prove us wrong?
There we are. We're throwing down the gauntlet to you, Brendan Rodgers.
Yes, we are indeed.
This has been Mid-Table Crisis. I have been Simon Cross.
I'm Tom Patrick.
Be sure to tune in next week for yet more Mid-Table Crisis.